I think, but like, how I'm gonna hold it down with my fucking foot? What if I shoot my foot?
Bro, and that's a big issue too because bro, every place is getting smaller and smaller over the past 3 years and the 5 years.
3 years,
bro. 3 years
since Florida was established, bro.
It's been getting smaller, bro. What's the whole issue with the pythons? Like, I know because they're eating all the small animals, right? That's the big issue.
So 90% of all of our fauna has dwindled in the last 3 years because of the python crisis.
Wow.
Yeah. And like everyone has speculations on how it started, but it's one of those that like if you're in reptile trade, like you kind of know how it did, right? Because they say like, oh yeah, it was a breeding facility at Hurricane Andrew. Yes and no. Yes, there was one, and a bunch of snakes that escaped. Not enough to start this. What is super cool about the Everglades is, it's one of the most unique habitats here in the United States, where it's more tropical than anywhere else. And it's just as tropical, if not, compared to South America, Africa, Australia, Southeast Asia, where we can actually host all of those animals. The only issue is they don't have natural predators here. So what people in the reptile trade were doing were like, oh, I'm just going to release a bunch so I don't have to import them anymore. And I'll just come and find the babies and collect them.
Yeah.
So if you go out there now, you can find veiled chameleons. There's whole ass pockets. And when I say pockets, I mean like, they feel like little farm areas where you can just find chameleons. There's some where you can, heavier populations of tegus and other things. And yeah, you can find them all over the place. But like, let's say you go to, I want to say it's East Kendall by the railroad tracks. There's still a ridiculous population of red-tailed boa constrictors.
Wow.
Right? And it's like, it doesn't make sense that there'd be little pockets of these things if they weren't all released at the same time years ago, right? So that's one of the things is, you go out there now, you can find literally anything from tortoises, red-tailed catfish, parrots, most of the stuff that we're like, oh yeah, Florida. We associate iguanas with Florida. They're not from here.
Wow.
Iguanas were never from here.
You ever been to the park right here? It's the Olette Park. The Olette Park right here in Biscayne Boulevard, Biscayne Park. It's like a big park that you can do biking and things like that. But they have like a lot of chameleons and a lot of it's massive. Yeah, it's big, and they're just sitting on the trees and the leaves.
Yeah, bro. People just let go of their pets too. Like let's say you got your kid a turtle or something, and then you're like, oh, it's big enough to live outside, and the fence breaks down. Now the turtle's gone, and it's not necessarily your fault, but there's a lot of that happening.
Yeah.
Shit, a few months ago, the roofers left my gate open, and my 170-pound tortoise got out. Right? Now, you would think that somebody would report a dinosaur crossing the street. But nah, here, there's so many people that are into that trade that the second that I got the call saying my gate was open, we can't find Cletus, I was like, he's gone. Right? Because you throw a rock, I bet one of your neighbors has some sort of reptile as a pet.
Wow.
And it's one of those that people are like, oh, why do, you don't really know anybody that keep them as pets? Because like people think that's weird, so nobody really tells anybody. But I don't think you've been in my backyard yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
I got tortoises roaming around. I used to have ponds.
Wow.
Like it's, a lot of people are like that. And here, we can facilitate that. So you can have all the crazy fruits for your animals to literally eat. Like at one point, I had a rhino iguana that I was watching from one of my buddies, and he's like, no, just leave her in the backyard. I was like, what do you mean? She's not going to run away? She said, she's not stupid. With all the fruit trees that you got, she's happy. Bro, she was there for like a year. She never left. You'd come outside, and she'd hear you and be like a puppy, bro. And it was a whole ass iguana.
Damn, bro. They're big, too.
They're big.
What is the largest they can grow? Because they have like a big-ass tail. Just a tail how long? It's like three.
So iguanas, I think the biggest you can find is about 6 feet, but it's like the body itself is going to be 3.5-ish. Right? Like those big orange ones, they can get big. Like the last one that...
Honduras, we eat iguana.
That's what I was just about to say. It's like, I'll go out there with my bow and some flecha shit, and like, I'll hit them and I'll cook them at home.
Yeah, they say it tastes like chicken, bro.
It does. It really is. The thing is, it's tough, so you have to know how to cook it.
Yeah.
But I got some recipes. I'll tell you. No, but like the biggest one that we caught was 17 pounds. Dude, it was as tall as me. Like when we lifted it up, like, it was huge. ridiculous.
Yeah, and what do those animals eat, bro? Like specifically like iguanas, grass, and like.
It's so they're for the most part, vegetarian, but like they'll eat. They're opportunistic. They need some sort of protein, and not every plant has high concentration of protein.
Yeah.
So like they'll occasionally eat bugs, like little small critters, little mice, whatever they can find. But for the most part, fruits, grass. So like those little cherries that grow on the side of the road, or the dandelions, the yellow flowers, they love that. The mangoes, when it's mango season, bro, you're literally throwing hands with iguanas trying to collect your own mangoes.
Damn, bro. But they're in Homestead too. That I feel like you go to Homestead, bro. It feels like a little throwback to our countries, where it feels like more like a farm area, more
because that's what it was.
Fruit, where exactly. Which is I love it. I really love Homestead. I love Homestead because it kind of gives me like the essence of like my culture. But then, bro, now they're saying that they're trying to expand Chrome. And Chrome is not what it is now. It used to be just one lane. Now they made it into three on both sides, and they want to expand it because it ends on it's Chrome, but now so like 88th, all those buildings in Chrome and 88th, those are all brand new, bro. My friend used to live there. He's like, bro, now they're talking about like expanding it a couple of blocks back, and I was like, bro,
so incorporated Miami is growing to the point where we have a weird map. So like when you see Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Homestead, so it's Tri-County for the most part, all South Florida, where you'll get Broward, Miami-Dade, and Monroe. Yeah. And now Monroe is weird because we, as people who live in Homestead, we see the Florida Keys as Monroe. And like that's all that we ever encounter of Monroe.
Yeah.
But everything to like when you're looking at a map, everything to the left, that's all Monroe County. Granted, there's not a whole lot of people in there, but even that's starting to change.
Wow.
Like ridiculous.
Yeah. And it makes sense that there's a. I was reading too that a lot of people are like from the south. They're moving like up north because of how expensive it is.
Dude,
and then
my people from like at a spot in Ocala.
Wow. Don't go, bro. We need people like you.
I'm not 100%. No.
We need but that's the idea. Look, we were just talking with my mother-in-law, and she's telling me Orlando. The houses that you can buy in Orlando for like $250, you can't even buy a house for $250 in Miami right now, bro.
Can't even get an efficiency.
You can't even get an efficiency. That's crazy.
Sorry, not efficiency. Efficiency. Efficiency, bro.
Or an apartment, bro. So many issues now that you have to do with like buying a person in an apartment. It's massive, bro, and it's crazy.
I think that with the hoops and hurdles you have to go through, the HOAs, all of that stuff. I'm like, it's ridiculous,
bro. So we have started. Bro, it's crazy. I just started this podcast because I saw the conversation going, bro. I have here with you guys a good friend of mine. He's somebody that I could consider now a friend because we connect, bro. And I feel like we interact, and I like to learn a little bit. Every time that we chop it up, it's like you're teaching me something new about the culture, about Miami, because you're connected, bro. As well as I have one of my friends. You remind me one of my friends from Homestead as well, that you just know like a lot of shit about the animals and the culture and like the people in Homestead, bro. So like I wanted to bring you in because I wanted to talk about Taco Fest. I wanted to talk about your craft. I have here with me, ladies and gentlemen, Andres, man. Tell them a little bit about yourself, bro. Tell them a little bit about how you grew up, how you got into like, the specialty that you do, and kind of like just a little background on your Homestead, bro, area in the Keys.
No, 100%. So like Boss Man's saying, Andres Labrador. I'm an award-winning mixologist. I compete around the world doing cocktail competitions, but I was born and raised right here in Miami, South Florida. So even though doing things around the way, I'm still from little old Florida, South Florida, little South side.
It's crazy, bro, because people think of Florida, man, and it's like a whole different type of catalog.
100%. It's funny. So the first competition I did, I ended up representing the U.S. in Ireland. And when I was over there, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm from Florida. And they're like, what's Florida? And I was like, well, you know how the rest of the world sees America? They're like, yeah, what does that mean? I was like, yeah, that's how America sees the rest of us. They're like, oh, so y'all are the weird motherfuckers over here. Yeah, a little bit. We're the wild bunch.
Bro, so tell me a little bit about you growing up here. I know you lived here most of your life. I mean, most of them. Most of
No,
it, right?
all of it.
All of it.
All
That's
of it.
crazy. And you grew up in Homestead. Originally, like you said, like Homestead, Keys.
Well, so it was Cutler Bay, but all of the fun activities, like the extracurriculars, not necessarily like the sports and stuff, but what I wanted to do, whether it was camping with the scouts or fishing, hunting, whatever, it was always down south,
Yeah.
right? The Redlands was always farmland or natural areas, and those were always what I was most interested in growing up.
Yeah.
So I was always down there, and the culture down there is super rich, right? So that's the only place you can get authentic, pretty much any sort of Central South American cuisine.
Yeah.
Especially if you're Mexican, man, that's the only place to get your pozole and your menudo in the morning.
That's the authentic food, bro. You eat around here like we were talking about Winwood. Food compares nothing to it, bro.
No, not at all. It's so well because now I work with chefs from all over the world, and I get to feast on what's considered like some crazy cuisine. I'm like, man, nothing compares to street food, bro.
Yeah. No,
like you can make it mad fancy, and I appreciate that, right? Like I love the science, the art, the craft behind it, but there's nothing like just digging your face, bro, into just like a falling apart mess of a taco, like barbacoa, and you're like,
yeah.
There's nothing like that, and you can go to some fancy places. They're using this is Wagyu grade or chutneys from the highlands of the I don't give a fuck, bro.
Yeah, they use that a lot, bro. I feel like U.S. or in general, like it just they kind of use that Mexican like culture and kind of like match their brand with it, kind of like
so it's the gateway to Latin cuisine, right? Because most of the people, like if you go up north and you tell them what your name is, they're gonna be like, "What are you, some kind of Mexican?" And you're like, "No, not that there's anything wrong with it, but there's other Latin cultures. Most people have only ever heard of Mexico."
That's crazy, bro. That's crazy you say that, and I do believe that. I always say this, and I always like to put into perspective. It's like, if you ever seen those videos of like you have African Americans that go to like China.
Oh yeah,
they're looking at them like, what?
Yeah,
where are you come from?
Yeah,
I've never seen that
before.
So I feel like there's Americans that you live surrounded by your American culture so much that you don't even know what a Latino looks like or what it even is, or be like, oh, those people live over there, you know what I'm saying? They don't even know anything about it, and it's crazy. It's crazy, bro. Really it's crazy.
So like I was saying earlier, I'm an Eagle Scout, but in the Scouts, like there's different ranks, whatever, that's not important. When you do the scouting, there's opportunity for you to go to other states, sometimes even other countries, to visit different campsites and whatever. And every summer we would go to a different camp in a different state. And it was super cool because like we'd get to experience somewhere else. But then when our troop being from Miami, we have little black kids, Jewish kids, there's a hodgepodge of everybody, like little mixed kids, everything. And then seeing all these people in like middle of nowhere, Virginia, seeing us for the first time, they're like, "Why y'all look like that?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What you mean?" And they're like, "Why does your hair look like that?" And when you sit in the sun too long, I'm like, "No." But they're little kids, like your age, and they've never seen somebody that doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
And it's one of the weirdest things to experience, like the unintentional racism. Like they mean no harm by it whatsoever, but like they've been ignorant of other people's cultures their entire life. Yeah. And it's one of the funniest things ever.
It's funny you mention because you, as a human being, you can tell that someone's not from your area just based on what they're wearing and their hair. You're like, or your skin color, like you said.
How they sound. There's so many tells.
You're like, you're not from.
Yeah, like the South Florida accent. We got a couple of them down here, but like that main Miami, welcome to Islands on Beach. Like, sort of like, immediately tell where you're from.
You're from, You're definitely not from up here. It's crazy, bro, because we talk a lot, and I know that, like, in that's not, you don't even have to go far away. Like, I know you go, like, 30 minutes upward, and it's like a whole different type of...
Dude, I get dirty looks going 30 minutes up north, bro. Yeah. It's really funny.
Yeah. Yeah, bro, and it's a whole different behavior. Like, look, I lived in Broward, and when I moved from Broward to Miami, it was a whole different type of area, bro, especially during, like, that middle school, high school phase. like Broward has a different type of style, and then you come to Miami, you're like, oh, people are not dressing up like how my
And
homies are
it's
dressing
crazy
up.
because they'll be from the same ethnic background as you, but it's just a completely different type.
Yeah.
Right? So like they have Cuban, Dominicans, Mexicans out there, but like they don't act like the same Cubans, Dominicans, Mexicans down here. And you're like, yo, wait a second.
Yeah, area has a lot to do with it, bro. Tell me a little bit about growing up. You went to Hawaii High School. You went to Homestead?
No. So I went to Coral Reef. I used to draw. I was really good at that. I got a few awards for that. Some of my stuff actually was in the New York Museum of Art Museum. I don't remember. I got a Scholastic Gold Key when I was 13.
How was the experience? Like, how was Coral Reef? Because it's a magnet school, bro. Coral
Yeah.
Reef has a lot of
Oh, I was a dickhead. It was yeah. So everyone was there trying to get an education, and I'd set up my hammock in the back of the baseball field and take naps. Like I'd climb the tree, steal coconuts, go to the art room, pop them open with a drill, and just like I was, I did just enough to get by.
Bro, that's crazy. So you did a little bit of drawing.
Yeah, I was really good at that. I was trying to get an art scholarship that I ended up breaking my thumb and I couldn't draw anymore.
Damn,
so
how'd that happen? How did you
baseball
break that?
Yeah, so it was right at the joints. Like I couldn't hold a pencil for 2 years. So I was just watching everyone else in my class get so much better than me, and I lost motivation for it. Like now, I can still do a little bit of artwork. I can draw something. I just don't take it serious anymore. And so I was like, you know what? I still got to go to college, and I ain't gonna pay for it. So I got to figure out another way. And I was really good at baseball. At 17, I was throwing in the mid-90s.
Wow.
Right? But I was a catcher.
You played catcher. You were a catcher. Oh.
Yeah. And the team I was on was like, no, we need a pitcher. So I had to try and convert from short arm to long arm, and I had no idea what I was doing. And the coaches at the time weren't really paying attention. Not to say that they didn't know what they were doing, but they were trying to rush the process, and I ended up throwing out my arm. So they won my baseball scholarship.
Wow, that's massive, bro. I know that I don't really know a lot about baseball, but it's a whole different thing. The way that you train in one position and get to another one, it's like a whole adapting and basically changing
You're
this
using different
routine
muscles,
that you've been using for so long, and it's hard.
Yeah, so like when you're throwing as a catcher, it's not necessarily that you have to throw faster in the sense where like the ball has to move faster. You have to move faster. So like my arm was cocked back, straight forward. So that's short arm, right? Like there's still a little bit of a wind up, but you're using the rest of your body to make up for that momentum. When you're pitching, you have time, you can use your entire body and then not necessarily relax, but you can get the ball there with a little bit more comfort. And so a pitcher has to do that significantly more than a catcher does. Like I'm not going to throw 80 throws in a game, right? But exaggeration.
Yeah.
But a pitcher has to constantly do that in practice, in games, in warm up. I don't have to do that as much. So my arm wasn't necessarily used to going from one style of throwing to then, and it became a big thing. Now it hurts to even play fetch with my dog. Like after 4 throws, I'm like, nah, dude. Like this is
It's crazy how that movement and that like it'll start like affecting you, bro.
Oh yeah,
you pay attention to a lot.
Yeah,
and it's the simple things like for me, like as a baker, you have to like Swiss and mix the colors a lot. And after like a minute, bro, you start feeling the tension on here in your shoulders.
Start.
I can't imagine when they're throwing a ball like you said consistently.
Yeah.
It could wear out the bone, man. It's crazy.
No, it was nuts. Then later I tried enlisting, and you know how people always try and tell you like, oh, like I couldn't because of the... No, it was funny because I really did try. Like legitimately, most people would just come up with some bullshit story. I was diagnosed with 3 different arthritis at 17 after my baseball accident. So I didn't know that you could lie to the MEPS and be like, no, I don't have any issues. So I submitted when I tell you like 4-inch thick medical file for like all the surgeries and stuff to my recruiter. He's like, you're an idiot. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, did you show them this in Doral? I was like, yeah, was I not supposed to? And they're like, they're not going to call you back. Like, we don't want you if you have all these problems. And I was like, so then I tried. So I was originally trying to do Coast Guard, and they're like, that shit's definitely not happening. Then I was like, well, you know what? The Army usually takes anybody. They're like, nah, bro, you're already busted. Like legitimately, we can give you like 3 waivers max, but like you're all fucked. So like that's not gonna happen.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah. So I mean, now they'll take anybody. But I've already started my new path. I got my business going. I'm doing my thing. Like I'm traveling around the world. This October, I'm going to Kentucky with the Chill 100 magazine.
I love that,
dude. It's bro. It's one of the coolest things. Like if you're a bartender, you definitely want to attend something like this.
Yeah.
Because it's brands from all over that they want to do stuff for you.
Yeah.
Right. Like they want you to either do pop-ups at different bars. They want you to travel to other places and represent them.
The brand, yeah.
Yeah. And so you're essentially like a contracted brand rep.
Yeah.
And it's one of the coolest experiences. But it's 3 days. Man, when I tell you fancy ass food.
I can imagine, bro.
Like swinky
you
digs.
travel a lot then. You had the opportunity, the blessing to like travel a little by little. You're traveling a lot more now, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's great. It's cool when it's on somebody else's dime. Right?
No, for real.
But like I'm not usually making money off of these trips. So like by the end of the trip, even though it was paid for me, I still gotta buy souvenirs for everybody. Like I'm not getting paid for the event itself, and it's still dope. But I'm like, man, I need to be financially more responsible in this.
But how did you make the switch from not being able to get into the army and then get into the National Coast Guard, but then after like going into like mixing, like where did that come from? Like was that like a youngin thing that you did, like those college years, or was it?
Oddly enough, I didn't like drinking in college. I didn't do shit in college, other than go to college and actually like try and sit down. And
I was a good kid, bro. I didn't start drinking until I was like 21.
Yeah, legitimately, same thing with me. But one of my recreational coaches, he would always have like reunions for us because we'd all played with each other since we were little kids. Yeah. And I think I was like 16 when we did one of them. And he's like, hey, can you make me a drink? I have a bartender book over there. And you just read it, go in the kitchen. All the parents are out there. Can you just make us something? I was like, sure. And so I made this, I think it was just like a regular pina colada. But I used like fresh coconut water. And then he had a juicer and pineapple. So I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. Yeah. And he's like, oh, this was really, really good. Do you want to keep the book? And I was like, oh, man, my mom would hate it if I did. Yeah. So later, I think like a couple months later, my mom found it. She's like, what is this? What, are you going to become an alcoholic? I was like, I don't even like drinking. I just like making this stuff, like for other people.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, this is going to lead to blah, blah, blah. And, I had to give back the book, which was really, really funny. A few years later, I was like, I'm trying to pay for school. I already had 3 jobs doing the substitute or the teacher's aide, and then internship, everything else that you need to do to become a teacher, which it wasn't even worth it. I was trying to become a science teacher. Wow. And at the same time, I was working in a small Asian kitchen, and then I was bartending wherever I could to make extra tip money. Yeah. And then the pandemic happened. And I was like, man, there's no more kids, because I was, even though I was doing science, the only thing that was really hiring was like ESC, which is like the children with special needs. Yeah. And I loved it. It was great. I used to coach little soccer teams for kids like that. And I was like, no, let me just do that. There were no more kids in school. So I couldn't do that. When I tried to go to the restaurant, it was owned by an older couple. And they were scared. They're like, look, you're young. If you're going to go out, or if you're even going to be dealing with people, like you could potentially give it to us. And this was when, COVID was the most terrifying thing in the world. Like if someone looked at you wrong, you were going to die. So they were like, we're going to have to close down the restaurant for a few months. And I was like, wow, shit, what the fuck do I do? I need to make some money. I was like, well, I know about bartending, and the only thing open right now is Total Wine. Yeah. So I applied for Total Wine and ended up getting the job, and that's where it clicked. Like
you started learning more about like the drinks and the wine.
Yeah. So, with Total Wine, they try to teach you very specific things, but I was like, I don't want to learn about your brands. I want to learn about the brands that people actually use. So there was 2 people that worked there. One of them, she was a level 2 Cordon Bleu certified sommelier that was going through like a rough patch, and she just needed a job. So she took me under her wing for the wine aspect, and I learned as much as I could. Like I stuck to her like white on rice and just learned and learned and learned. The other gentleman, Justin, I still hang out with him. You're actually going to get to meet him at the festival because he's gonna be one of my bartenders.
Taco Fest. Let me hold that thought. You mentioned something there that I know is really important. The license that you just talked about, that person, what's it called?
Certification. It's
Certification.
essentially a degree in professional wine etiquette, serving, and knowledge. It's not something that's easily it costs a lot of money, and you have to legitimately go to school for it. Like, if you want to become really good at it, you can do your WSET and just get certified and be like, all right, now I can sell beer and wine in my place. That's super easy. Like, everyone can get that. But if you want to go through the guild, the first portion is drilling you on the etiquette of proper serving of everything. And so there's different styles of wines, and that's what I was trying to learn, because I was like, well, as a bartender, I need to learn how to serve everything, not just cocktails. I need to learn how to serve wine. If we happen to have coffee stuff, like, I need to essentially become a barista as well. If I'm going to be really good at what I do, I need to learn every aspect so that I can use each of those to help elevate my skills in each of the other, because you can get one perspective as just a regular bartender, right? Like, you go to your regular dive bar and you're like, oh yeah, let me just get this and that. Cool. Try and ask them for a wine, they're going to be like, oh. Most people don't know the difference between a champagne and a prosecco.
That's crazy,
right?
That's crazy. But like you said, there's so many, and their job that's not teaching you like to know the difference.
Jobs don't train you anymore, right? And the ones that do, they unfortunately, most of them can't afford to keep you once you are educated. So Total Wine was trying to train me for one thing, but these two individuals trained me in others. So Justin, when you can ask this man anything about any spirit, he knows, and it does not matter.
Wow.
So I would bug him, because as a bartender, I know how to use the gin, the tequila, the this, but I know the difference between a blanco reposado tequila. But what does that actually mean if somebody wants to just drink it on its own, or what would that pair well with? And if I know what it'll pair with food wise, well, why can't I build a drink that'll pair even better to anything?
Mm-hmm.
And so, coming from that culinary background, meeting these two people, I was like, oh, this is it for me.
What was it that, at that point, what was it that for these two folks, what was it that kind of like draw your, like, it kind of like made you like, damn, I like this. Like, was it like learning about the different type of drinks, or was it the craft itself? Because it is kind of like, it is a craft. It is
absolutely. It's art, science. It's everything. I think the same thing that anybody that gets into anything, like, once you know something that most people don't, you kind of see yourself as like people will look up to me for this.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't really know much about cakes, but I'm more than sure you know way more than anybody else. And if somebody asks you like, oh, this is cool and all, but why do we have milk in our cake?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And you could probably give me the whole scientific explanation as to why, the bread itself is going to hold those sugar fats a lot better. And even though a lot of it's going to be, coming out, you'll be able to explain that.
Yeah.
With the alcohol, it was something that I was really good at science and really good at history, and alcohol is just that.
That's crazy.
And I just fell in love with it.
That's crazy how I always like to reflect back on how life takes you on a path, bro. Because you originally wanted to go directly to science, and then kind of you kind of had to adapt, and then all of that little knowledge that you took in kind of came in heavy at the end.
When I designed my cocktails for these competitions, I used the exact same, how do I put this? The same methodical input that I would before I start to draw something. The same way I would do that, where I would block a picture on a paper. I do that in my head now with drinks. I say, do I want to do a highball? Do I want to do a coupe? Do I want to do, a spin on a classic? And then give myself rules and say all right, is it going to be themed on where it comes from, or is it going to be themed to pair to something else? All right, now I have these rules. Let me figure it out in my head, and then I start to build the drink the same way I would tackle an art problem. But now I'm using, instead of pen and paper or the paints or inks, I'm using different ingredients teas, syrups, purees, extracts, bitters, everything.
Yeah.
And it's
syrups, like we were telling me about the sugar with the lime.
Yeah, like the oleosaccharides, right? That's that's not a normal thing, but it is a traditionally artistic twist on, like, let's say you want to make a regular margarita. Well, you don't necessarily have to use your triple sec if you don't have it. Just get some old limes that you had already squeezed, put some sugar on them, and boom, now you've made an oil-based syrup.
And I know that's crazy because I'm thinking now how like the importance of the effects of knowing a little bit of the science can kind of like take your level to the next, take your skill to the next level, because you know the difference that, for example, natural lime juice has compared to pre-made lime juice, which is two completely different things, you know, and you can make two different completely drinks and like you can taste the difference.
You can use the exact same ingredients, but if you prep them differently, it's going to be a night-day cocktail.
Yeah.
Like, so that margarita that you tried at Fabio's, that was with the oleosaccharin. How much of the oil, like the essence of the lime, could you taste in that rather than any margarita you get anywhere else?
You can even smell it.
Yeah.
You can even smell it, and it was strong, but it made a whole different type of margarita, bro. That's crazy that you said that. I always like think how like food and drinks kind of like correlate, because it's about that taste, you know, that specific taste that you're able to give to whatever it is.
That line between mixology and culinary is getting thinner and thinner every day. Because now you have these Michelin-star chefs that are starting to realize, like, oh, no, even bartenders are using molecular gastronomy. Like, that's stuff that I do to make crazy desserts or dehydrated soups or wild things. And they're doing this with alcohol. Well, I mean, if I'm already doing it here, why can't I translate these skills to that? And so now I'm competing with actual chefs.
Wow.
And something that is technically their element, because, you know, if you work in a kitchen, you're working with that since you're 16, you work in a restaurant, that you already know the basics. You know how to hold a knife. You know But when you're bartending, most of the time people become bartenders because they were servers.
Yeah.
Then they got to be a bar back, and then they finally got behind the bar. So all that training isn't necessarily for, you know, the guest, right? Because you want to give something to the guest, and that's what chefs are constantly training for, is your presentation, your actual product. And for bartender training, you don't get to do that until like you're almost there. But when you're a cook, you're doing just that. Then you maybe become a sous chef, then the head chef, and now you're the chef.
Yeah.
But the entire time you were always practicing with all these elements, and you were learning these elements. Like, most bar backs aren't gonna.
No. You just said it too as well. Like, you know, your regular bartenders are gonna know how to make, you know, 2 or 3 drinks. They're not gonna really know how to make in a specific drink to your cater, you know.
Dude, you know how funny it is? It was last year. It was for my boy's birthday. Not to, you know, diss Buffalo Wild Wings or nothing. But like, no, I love Buffalo Wild Wings, and their bartenders are usually great people. But I messed up once, and I asked them because I looked at their menu. And they had a very specific brand, and I was like, "Oh, Dulce Vida!" Like they have a mezcal on the menu.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, bossman, can I just get a shot of mezcal?" And he's like, "A Moscow?" I was like, "No, mezcal." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I got you." Comes back, brings me Moscow Mule, and I was like, "No, mezcal." And he's like, "Yeah, Moscow." I was like, "No, mezcal."
Yeah.
Like you have it on the menu right here. And he's like, "What is that?" I was like, "It's, you know, it's like tequila, but like a little bit smoky." And he's like, "Nah, I'll have to get the manager." Dude, after 20 minutes, after 20 minutes, the manager, she finally comes over and she's like, "We don't have that." And I was like, "I can see the bottle from here, and I'm on the other side."
Wow.
In the restaurant. I was like, "You see that green bottle there? Like the purple?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, the one you make your mezcal margaritas with? I just want a shot of that."
Yeah.
And they finally brought it 30 minutes later, and I was like, "Dude, like you're the bar manager and you don't know what's on your menu?" Like they don't, you know, most places don't train, and then the ones that do, you're paying $30 for a drink, man.
That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. But here's the other thing though. As me as a consumer, I like, you know, I'm not gonna say I like to go to expensive places, but I like to always take the server's recommendation. We're like, "Yo, bro, you work here, like, you know, you're gonna get a good tip. Trust me, I've been a server before, but suggest me something good." And based on what they know it's good in the kitchen, they'll recommend me something. So I'll do the same thing for somebody that sells drinks as well.
Yeah, of course.
And I know it takes some sort of catering, you know what I'm saying? It's not just putting something there and kind of be like, "I'm gonna serve you the most expensive thing when I know it's not good. I'm gonna give you something that's actually catered to you."
Yeah. So when it's slow, please do that for your bartender.
Yeah.
Because your bartender wants to impress you. Now, I mean, you worked in restaurants, so you know how kitchens work.
Yeah.
Right?
And they can switch over like a 30-minute span, bro.
Well, no, 100%. What I'm trying to get is, it's always good to ask the bartender, hey, what's good? But like with the bartenders, there's max, 3 bartenders behind a bar?
Yeah.
How many people are in the kitchen?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like, as much as I want to sit down and tell you like, hey, I recommend this, this, and this, and this, I have 12 other people at this bar that there's only 3 of us and we have to make drinks for, right? The kitchen, they have a time crunch, but they don't get distracted the same way. Because as a bartender, our job is not only to serve you the drink, but we have to entertain you as well. Because we're actually face to face, kind of like the hibachi.
Yeah.
Right? Those chefs they're talking to you the whole time. They're trying to show you cool stuff. But, our society is more okay with that to the point where, they've made it easier for that chef. Whereas bartenders, it doesn't get easier for us. Most of the time, our bars aren't built like a bar should be, right? So let's say you and I go to Sandbar right now. Yeah, they have all the stuff to make like pretty basic drinks and they have all the liquor around. But if you were to ask for something other than a 2 or 3 ingredient drink, it's going to take them an extra 5 minutes to make. And they can't afford to do that.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a sports bar. Yeah. They have 20 people in there ordering a drink at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's good when they're slow. Definitely ask your bartender. If your server does seem knowledgeable, which as a bartender, I'm going to be super honest with you, trying to explain the difference between vodka and beer to most servers is pulling teeth.
No, and then another thing too is like you're not gonna go to like a regular bar, for example, like Buffalo Wild Wings, and trying to get like a fancy margarita because that's not your style. But if most people, like you said, they'll all take a beer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So when I always tell people, look, there's a lot of things where you really do get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Right. So like here in Miami, there are some really fantastic mixology bars.
Yes.
And you can go and visit them, talk to those bartenders because they actually have the setups for it, and that's why you're going to pay a little bit more of a premium for your drinks. So let's say we went to Sylvester right now, and we were like, "Hey, Ice, I need you to make me some." He's got one of the best teams on the planet. I think they were in the running for top 50 bars.
Oh wow!
Right?
Wow, that's
so
crazy. That's here in Miami, or
that's in Wynwood, dude. No, that's Wynwood. That's just them. Better Days is another really fantastic team where they do what I tell you. They are some of the best. Like, you can ask for even complicated drinks, and they are so good at volume and quality. Like, if you could train there as a bartender, which, I mean, good luck.
Yeah.
Because they already have the dream team.
That's
but, that's why you usually pay a premium. Like, I bring friends there, and they're like, dude, why are we paying this much for a drink? I was like, how long did it take you to get that sidecar?
Yeah.
It was like 10 seconds. I was like, yeah. If you were to get a sidecar at anywhere else, it's not even a crazy drink. It's a 3-ingredient drink.
Yeah.
If you were to get it anywhere else, it's going to take you a few minutes.
Yeah.
And at the same time that those bartenders were doing that, they were building 3 other drinks at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Literally shaking. Yeah. 2 shake. Like, they're good at what they do.
Yeah. No, it's always like you said, you want to eat good, you got to pay good,
Yeah.
And I'm willing to. Like I always tell, I'd rather pay a little bit pricey, but I love to taste the quality. Like the drink you serve me, or like I'll go to a restaurant and have a good set of pasta and be like, this was worth.
100%.
Because I think as a consumer, I'm more of that consumer that if I try something, I want to bring my friends over here.
Absolutely.
Like if you try the drinks, I want to bring my friends over here because this is the drink. You know what I'm saying? And they're willing to pay.
Of course.
But bro, just to kind of throw back a little bit on what you're saying, you kind of made me reflect on how when you're into I want to be specific in terms of because it takes a lot. You're just not making drinks. You just said something there, you're entertaining the customer. You're catering it specifically to them. And I know how was it for you? Was it easy? Have you always been this type of person to kind of be comfortable, or was that something that you had to learn? Because at the bar, you constantly have to do one person over here and learn how to multitask, right?
Yeah. So not only are you building their different drinks, odds are there's one group here, a couple of people there, one person at the other end, but you also have to bring in their tickets. So you have to be super organized mentally or on the spot. And if you don't have a good team to have your back for that, you can easily get in the weeds.
Yeah.
And it's one of those that like, bartending is one of the most rewarding things when you do have great customers. When you don't, it happens.
Yeah.
You're in the service industry.
Yeah.
You know how some people can get.
No, and then you mentioned something quick too as well. It's like you have multiple people, and then you have the one person that's kind of like undecisive, and they don't really know what they want or what they don't want, and then you might have their friend that's kind of like goofing around because you do. I'm pretty sure you have to deal with this type of people too, right?
100%, and you have to respectfully say like, hey, look, I have other people that probably do know what they want to have at this exact moment. Can I give you a second?
Yeah.
There's better ways to always speak to somebody, but you're always going to encounter something, right? Somebody saying, I don't like this drink. Well, why don't you like this drink? It's like, well, I asked for a margarita with no sugar in it. I was like, okay, so you asked for a lime and tequila. Is that not what I gave you? It's like, no, but I wanted a margarita. It's like, but you said no sugar.
Yeah.
Right. So you're kind of missing a key ingredient. They're like, well, I want it to be sweet. And I was like, well, that's what the sugar is.
Yeah, that's the truth. Well, that's crazy. That's crazy that, like you said, people are asking for something they don't even know what it is.
Yeah, and it's, as a teacher, as a bartender, I love educating people on, what everything is.
Yeah.
So when I do have time in the bar, or if I know I have a good team behind me, I'll stop and tell you, hey, well, so you're asking me for this margarita, right? Now, you don't necessarily want to pay like the premium for a tequila that's going to be a little bit lighter where I can get away with not adding sugar. So let's try and come up with a compromise. Let's say can I use a different type of sweetener, like maybe an agave or a honey instead? Maybe we can work on that. And if you'd like, maybe a different style cocktail. Maybe you can do like a ranch water or a tequila highball.
Yeah.
And, tell them the differences, explain what each thing is, and, maybe this might be a little bit better for you. And that way, when they come back, they're like, hey, look, I didn't necessarily know, but this bartender knows.
Yeah.
So whatever you like, tell him, and he'll be able to make it for you. Because that's another thing is we have to guess.
We have to guess. It's
crazy. Even though we'll have a menu, most of the time it's basic things. And, if somebody wants something nice, a bartender has all the tools around him. It's not like a chef where the chef has a set menu. Yeah, there's a couple of hidden menu things that you can ask for. But I can't go to a fish place and say, like, I want some ribs, bro. I want some pork ribs.
Yeah.
At a bar, if you see it on the shelf, you have to know how to use it.
Yeah.
Because people can ask you for anything. It's not just the menu that you have. You got to have a whole other menu up here of all the classics, all of whatever's popular now. And that's, like TikTok is making it crazy because people now have access to really wild shit on the internet.
That's crazy, right? TikTok has changed the game, bro. Did you have a couple of things from TikTok?
Dude, do you know how many girls will come to the bars that I used to work at and then show me the video? Can you make this? And I'm like, yeah. Just give me a second to watch the video. I'll make you whatever you want.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And, no, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's cool because now, people are asking you for things that you're like, oh, I can do that 100%. Yeah, let me start it for you. Or you can get some weird thing that shouldn't exist. 100%. And they're like, yeah, but they said it was good. And I'm like, and I'm telling you, it's not going to be good.
Bro. That's crazy. But that's the difference that I noticed with you, bro. It's what you said. It's knowing the ingredients, knowing how to use them in the right portions. Now, one of the things that you taught me is the big difference, because I'm not a drinker. I told you just now, I'm not drinking socially. The difference between like tequila and mezcal, which is something that you mentioned before. Not a lot of people know the difference between those. You went to Buffalo Wild Wings and they didn't even
it's on their menu.
They had to call their manager, and the manager didn't know what it was. You literally had to point it out. Can you sort of, like, the simplest way describe to people? Because they're like, oh, what's mezcal? Like, what?
Yeah, no, 100%. So you're asking the right person. I'm actually a CRT professional. So Consejo Regulador de Tequila.
Wow.
Officiated by the Mexican government. So the tequila sommelier. So super easy. Tequila is mezcal.
Yeah.
It's a type of mezcal. Okay. Mezcal just means that it's an agave-based spirit coming from Mexico, from a certain state in Mexico.
Okay.
Now, it can be made in a few more states than tequila. Tequila can be made in 5 states, but the big difference is tequila can only be used with blue Weber agave.
Okay.
So that's why you'll always see like blue in the name, or it'll say 100% blue Weber agave.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's tequila. Now, mezcal can use any of the 36 other varietals of agave. So there's different forms of sweetness, different fibery flavors, some are more earthy, and that's if you cook them the same way you would with tequila. Now, with mezcal, the traditional way is to actually cook it in the ground.
Yeah.
So what they'll do is they'll dig a big pit, fill it with lava rocks, charcoal, different herbs, botanicals, and then throw in the agave.
Yeah.
Once it's cooked, it's going to have a lot of that smoky flavor in it. So when they go to juice it to then ferment and distill, it's going to have a smoky flavor.
Wow.
So tequila is a type of mezcal, but there's a few different types of mezcal.
Yeah. That's crazy, and I feel like a lot of people don't know the difference.
Oh, 100%. And for the most part, you don't need to know. That's my job.
That's true. That is true too. But you notice the difference, bro. It's two different type of drinks.
Oh, absolutely.
Two different type of drinks. You know,
you can use the exact same ingredients, like to make that tequila and mezcal, and just because you're cooking it differently, you're gonna get a completely different product.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that if you were to switch the type of sugar from regular sugar to brown sugar, it's gonna make a different texture in your cake altogether.
Even the sugar itself, but let me take it a step farther. The flour, bro.
Oh,
flour.
absolutely.
I don't bake without a certain type of flour that we bake. You know, if we don't have that, it's two different type of products, and I can tell just by looking at it, bro. Just by every time I bake my cakes, I flip them, and I'm like, this is not good. I can tell just by looking at it, not even smelling it. I could just tell by looking at it, and like you said, you can spot the difference.
Yeah,
you can definitely spot the difference. Man, that's crazy, bro. But you switched it on me, bro, because
100%.
How was it that? But which is great because it kind of sums up everything. But that's crazy that one parent told you to making drinks at 16, that you got the book, and that your mom made you return it. But when was it that you're like, damn, I'm actually good? Was it working at the restaurant?
So
working at the
So funny enough, after I quit the restaurant they laid me off, and I started at Total Wine. I was trying to go up their corporate ladder. Like, I was trying to make it to manager. I was going to be like the youngest person to ever do it. And I was just going to spend the rest of my life there. And after a year, I was like, this isn't going to work. They started messing with, corporate things. Like, it wasn't working out.
Yeah.
So I ended up leaving. I was bouncing around place to place. I was at a catering company, so I could learn how to, do that aspect of it. And then I started working at, this really nice joint right down the street. I'm not going to say the name because I'm going to talk shit about them. But, they had a really great bar program, and they had a really talented bartender there. And they had some really nice head sommeliers. They were, for the most part, cool people until it came to actual work. Like, there was a lot of stepping on each other's toes, throwing each other into the bus. And, it was an issue. And I was like, look, I want to be an actual bartender. I'm not trying to bar back. Like, I know what I'm doing. I've done it before. Like, I promise you. And at that point, I was like, hey, look, they have competitions for this, so I could, show you that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. And
they're like, yeah, you'd never make it. I was like, okay. I got a little too messed up at a whiskey convention.
Okay.
And I went to the Whistle Pig and Limavady booth. Okay. So Limavady's an Irish whiskey. The master distiller was there. I was already 30 samples deep. I was trashed.
Damn.
And I was like, oh man, this whiskey, this is a weird one. I could see why most Americans wouldn't enjoy it. But as a bartender, this is probably one of the coolest ones, and I bet you I can make the best cocktail ever with it. And he's like, well, if you really think so, we're actually going to have a cocktail competition. And if you win, you beat everybody in Miami, you get to go compete against the best in Florida. If you beat the best in Florida, then it's the best in the southern United States, then the U.S., and then you get to go compete in Ireland. And I was like, okay. So I gave them my information, and I woke up the next day, and I see a notification on my phone. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And I see it's like submission form for the Limavady cocktail competition. Yeah. I was like, oh, I really signed up for that.
Yeah.
So then I was like, well, I need to come up with a drink. And Justin, the one I was telling you about, he's also very knowledgeable about geography, history. And, I was telling him, I was like, hey, man, what's, I don't really know much about Irish other than, Guinness. And he's like, well, use Guinness in your drink. I was like, okay, for sure. But I can't just use Guinness in the drink. And he's like, well, what do you know about Ireland? I was like, I know that, potatoes. I don't know much. I know that they invented whiskey.
Yeah.
But like, what else? He's like, well, they have really good apples. I was like, oh, okay. I could do something with that. And he's like, they actually make desserts with them. And so I looked up Irish apple or like Irish apple desserts. And the thing that came up was an Irish apple cake. And I was like, I've actually had this before. I think I can maybe make a drink that tastes like it.
Okay.
And so I reduced the Guinness, which is a beer. I reduced into a brown sugar sea salted syrup. So I had a little bit of sea salt, like, what would you do with your pastries? And because it's Guinness, it's malty. It's made of grain.
Yeah.
It has a little bit of that yeasty, bready flavor once you reduce it. And so I made a syrup with that, and I used that to make a foam. So I had a foam on top of my drink, but it wasn't just that. It was the Irish whiskey, and then I did an apple brandy.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, it's a split-base old-fashioned. I was like, well, this is a little too easy, so how do I make this a little bit more complicated? I got to garnish it. Let me garnish it. So I went through 4 different apples trying to figure out which ones would dehydrate the best. And I landed on Honeycrisp. And I was like, this has a really good flavor, good texture, and it pairs nice with the Guinness, the whiskey, and then the brandy, obviously, because it's also apple. I was like, but this looks plain. And if you're going to serve somebody something nice, you want to, with your cakes, you put a little whipped cream, maybe like a little pastel on top. And you're like, all right, this looks good. So I was like, well, their logo isn't super complicated. Why don't I just put their logo on the apple? And I was like, well, how do I do that?
Yeah.
So I was like, the cinnamon usually gets thrown on top of the cake. Let me throw it on top of the apple.
Yeah.
But let me make a stencil using their logo, and I put it on the apple. And so I had an apple with their logo that was also infused with the whiskey. So I put that on top of the drink. So it's a shaken old-fashioned, which is not normally how you make one. But I was trying to batch out for 6 people for the judges. So it was the Irish whiskey, apple brandy, a little bit of the Guinness syrup inside of the cocktail. And then I threw in that syrup. I threw it into a siphoner, and I made like a whipped cream out of it. So I put that on top of the cocktail, and then I threw the garnish. And I was like, it's not really complicated because most things in Ireland aren't.
Yeah.
If you historically, when you look at their cuisine, very little spices and not bold flavor, but very recognizable flavors in all their cuisine. So I was like, well, let me replicate that in this one drink. Not too complicated, but I wanted to say Ireland on it.
Yeah.
And so all the judges got to try it, and they're like, wow, you could have one, you could taste the whiskey. All the other contestants made fantastic cocktails, but they kind of covered up the whiskey.
Yeah.
Which is, if it's a whiskey competition, you want to taste it.
Taste the whiskey. Yeah.
So when I did this cocktail, I served it to him, and I was nervous. This was my very first competition ever, and I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm not even like a real bartender at this point. Like, what am I doing? Why would I even like compete in this? And then they start doing the introductions, like all right, so here's 5th place, and here's 4th place, and in 3rd, and I'm just like,
yeah.
And then they're like, and in 1st place, Andy, and I'm like, what? Huh? So then I was like, wait, what does that mean? They're like, well, you get to go to the next stage. So then I competed for Best in Florida, ended up winning. Then in the Southeastern United States, and ended up winning.
Damn.
Then I got to compete in Ireland. This was my very first cocktail competition.
Wow. How old were you at this time, bro?
22.
Damn.
Like, I barely knew what I was really doing. I just knew that, with the bit of culinary background and, the help from the chefs, Justin, and everyone that I had already met on this journey into getting into bartending, I was like, man, I was fortunate enough to have people that were willing to teach me in the first place.
And you were willing to learn as well.
And,
it has to go both and both.
Oh, 100%. And so when I got to Ireland and, I got to meet the people who made the whiskey and all these other fantastic bartenders, and I was like, I think I've made it. And after that, whenever there was a competition, I was signing up. I, to this day, only lost 1 cocktail competition.
Wow.
And, really, really talented bartender. I was like, it was close. I'm pretty sure mine was there, but you know what I like? You can have that W. You can say you've beaten the undefeated bartender at this. But no, it's one of those that I was like, all right, now I think I'm going to focus on this and just take it seriously.
Wow.
And so
how was that trip to Ireland, bro?
Oh, it was the shit. I didn't want to come back. I was going to be.
How long is the trip? Is that? It's okay.
So they paid for the first half, which it was supposed to be. They paid for all of what they were offering.
Yeah.
Right. So whenever you win these competitions, or if a brand sends you somewhere, they're like, "Oh, we're going to stay for 4 days. We're going to do this, 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 and this, and this." We stayed in castles, 5-star places. Like, it was insane. I got to bartend in a bunch of random places that I was like, I never even knew I'd ever eat in Europe. My first time ever. And after that, I was like, I'm not going home just yet.
Yeah.
I have more exploring to do.
Yeah. You stayed over longer?
Fuck yeah, dude. What? I stayed a whole other weekend out there.
I can imagine it's like a whole different type of culture, bro.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm not gonna pretend like I wasn't worried, because we drive 30 minutes north up here, and people give us dirty looks because we're brown.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to Europe, where like historically there's not a whole lot of us over there, and the Irish people are not that.
They're not even. They're not even. It's not even their head.
Absolute shit at all. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, but I'm brown, and they're like, what does that mean? And I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And they're like, you don't understand it. We're like the N-words of Europe, right? And I was like, historically, yes. And they're like, yeah, so you're just like us. Why would we give a shit where do you come from? I was like, oh man, you guys are my new favorite people. Like, legitimately, they are the nicest people for no reason.
Wow.
Whatsoever.
Is it like people think out here they're just like out there drinking? I think it's more like
absolutely,
Europe, right?
Oh no, in Ireland specifically. Remember, like, that's the birthplace of whiskey.
Yeah.
And they have the biggest brands in the world, and Ireland is not big, right? Like, I was talking to them, I was like, oh yeah, Disney World's only like a 6-hour drive from me, and they're like, only 6 hours? You can get from the north end to the south end from that. I was like, wait, Florida is bigger than Ireland? That's crazy. And so, like,
that's small. It's like a little triangle now that you're looking at it. But it, like in the map, it just seems bigger.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But it was so nuts, because, like, you think of Ireland as a bartender, you think of Jameson, you think of Guinness, you think of Bailey's. Like, those are the biggest brands in the world.
They come from
the world, and they come from this little tiny place. And you're like, oh man, like, I'm here. Where, like, they have the richest history for alcoholism, bro. And not just that, like, I'm not like a religious person, very religious.
Yeah.
But there was the most beautiful church in the middle of Dublin, and it doubled as a distillery.
Wow. Nah.
So literally, you can go there Sunday morning and catch, the mass, and right afterward, you'd see the guys pouring in the yeast into the vat to actually make the whiskey. And I was like, this is the most beautiful place on the planet. Like, even the stained glass. So this is the Rowan Pierce Leon Distillery.
Okay.
So these were actually, they're the reason why we have bourbon today. That's a whole other historical story. But, like, they brought it from Ireland to the U.S. and started using our corn. They technically invented bourbon. But other than that. So back to their distillery, even their stained glass, when they got ruined, I want to say during the war, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
They replaced all the stained glass with more stained glass, but like monks doing distillery stuff.
Yeah.
So instead of, like, you'd see like the sheep walking along with me, it was people pouring barrels and stuff, and it was just the coolest thing. I was like,
wow, you can see like the pure authentic, like how it's actually made, right?
It was, oh my, when I tell you, it's one of the most beautiful places ever. Fantastic. And Guinness, if you've ever had it here, it's garbage.
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie, it's complete dookie.
Wow.
But Guinness in Ireland is the most magical substance you can put into your body.
That's crazy. That's crazy. They said that, bro. No, it's a lot. It's a lot, bro. It's a lot how, like, we think that we have the best here in the US, and we really don't, bro.
It's not even that. It's like, the difference between Mexican Coke and regular Coke?
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah.
Like, we get, we have the shitty version.
Yeah.
And they have the original version. And it's just so good.
Yeah.
It's just so good. And they're such fantastic people. I had the opportunity to move out there, and I still want to take it up. But since I started my business, I was like, if I do that, then I have to abandon the business for a couple of years. And it's like, I just started getting traction. So I don't want to do that just yet.
Tell him a little bit about the business, man. Tell him a little bit about the business. You guys know the Instagram, Liquorsmith.
Yes,
follow Liquorsmith. We'll put it on the hashtag. We'll put it on the caption as well. Tell me a little bit about how that journey started. Like, starting.
Yeah, no, 100%. So like we were saying earlier, people don't really know cocktails, right? And so you go to the city and you spend a lot of money on it, right? Like you're spending anywhere from $12 to $45, $50 for a drink. And I was like, you know what? Yes, I could see how that makes sense if you're a bar. Like, what if I want that at home? Like, what if I'm, I want to celebrate an anniversary, a birthday party, but I don't want to hire these rinky-dink bartenders that are giving me orange juice and vodka. They're like, here's your screwdriver.
Yeah.
You want actual mixology. You want someone to carve a piece of ice in front of you, smoke a glass, and say like, hey, look, this tequila is actually this, or this whiskey is, this version, this from the Highlands of Scotland, or, this is a Tennessee bourbon, it's going to be different from your regular, and kind of explain it. So I was like, why can't I bring that to people and just make it affordable?
Yeah.
Because, I like going to bars, but, like, now if you go to the city, you're going to spend $30 in parking.
Yeah.
Minimum. Then you're going to spend a minimum of $70 in drinks for just you. You still got to buy food. And if you're with your girl, you're already spending $300-$400 on an outing.
Easily.
And I was like, for that, I could bring everything to you and cater it to you.
Yeah.
And you could have as many people as you want.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make high-end mixology affordable. And I even do the mixology classes. So, like, let's say you wanted to surprise your girl for Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And say, like, hey, get a few of your girlfriends. What's your favorite cocktails? This guy's going to show you how to make, the way you get it in a bar, the elevated version, and then the mixology version.
Oh, I like that.
Right? So I'll show you how to make your margarita the way you get it at Sandbar.
Yeah.
And I'll show you how to make a really nice margarita that you can make for your friends whenever they come over. And then I'll show you the extra complicated for no reason, hellified solid lime that you can eat the margarita out of, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
And, that way you're not spending hundreds of dollars for, one or two people. It's a couple $100. I bring everything to you and I show you how to do it from scratch. So let's say you do have guests and you're like, you know what? I learned how to make this fantastic margarita. I want to make it for all of you.
Yeah.
This is going to sound super corny, but did you ever watch Ratatouille?
Yeah.
Anybody can cook.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Anybody can make a drink.
Yeah.
And anybody can make a really good drink. It's not like it's super hard.
Yeah.
It's just...
You need to learn from the right people, like you said.
You need to learn from the right people, and you need to use nice ingredients. Like, I don't know if you know anything about Japanese cuisine. It's always very simple.
Yeah.
And their focus isn't necessarily on, yes, presentation is a huge part, and the quality of how they cook things, but for the most part, most things aren't cooked. They focus on the quality of the ingredient, right? So with sushi, 3 ingredients, right? You're getting your fish, your rice, your seafood. You can tell the difference between public sushi and Nobu sushi. Yeah. You need it because of the cuts, because of the way that they cook that rice, right? They focus more so on the quality of what you're using rather than trying to mask something to make it taste good.
That's crazy that you point that out, bro, because I feel like after 2020, there was like an awareness of kind of what's good, what's not good, where can we go, and I feel like I got into a stage where I'll take the quality anytime over quantity, bro. And a lot of people are in the atmosphere, so that's why I think your business is gonna be massive, bro, because people want that, and like you said, to have somebody come and cater, then they're going to bring 4 or 3 people that are just handing out food instead of having a professional that's going to make specifically drinks for you. You guys can order pizza or whatever you want, but the main item is going to be the drinks, and you could taste the quality, bro. You could definitely taste the quality, and it does make the difference in terms of the ingredients, which is something that you're talking about, because it makes
I
a
only
huge
get
difference.
them from the farmers themselves. When I go to Florida City, when I go to the Redland Bargain Market, and it's the Mexican food market, and they have that huge barn essentially, and all the vendors. That's all fresh produce, literally grown down the street. The cacao pods. Whenever I make right now, one of my most popular drinks for the winter season is my Aztec hot chocolate because it
Oh,
literally
that
is
sounds
an
good,
actual
wait.
Aztec hot chocolate, but I use real cacao.
Yeah.
Like I make the chocolate
Yeah.
from scratch. They sell it there. I just
That's
break open
crazy.
the pods,
Yeah.
and I make, and it's so much cooler to be like, oh yeah, you know, just get some powder, pour it in the thing, and get some hot chocolate, put some tequila in there.
That's another craft too, bro. Making chocolate. That's a whole different type of thing.
Yeah, I can get into
You
that.
know,
That's a mess.
You know, Honduras actually has a lot of
a lot of I want to say
chocolate companies. Yeah, I'll send you somebody, bro. He's from our country, Honduras. He's from like Tela, around the area, and he's good, man. He shows the people the process of like what I actually have some. I'll give you some chocolate, but it's pure. It's like pure. It's like pure chocolate.
Dude, the 100% cacao
without
sugar.
I got you.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
Than whatever sweet milk nonsense that you get. Yeah. And it's so much healthier for you too. Yeah. That's another thing that's getting huge with not just drinks, but with food. You know, everyone's looking at the holistic properties of everything.
Oh yeah.
You know, like we had that whole antioxidant water that guys
yeah. A lot of people become aware of what they take in, bro.
Yeah. No,
a lot of people, and I think it's a great path for everybody in terms of health. Where you're talking about, because chocolate is great for health. It's
as long as you're not putting all the fake shit in it.
Yeah, that's the thing, bro. With America, I love my country, America, man. But
I
think like they bring something from the outside, and they gotta put all this nutrition labels, and then they change the recipe, bro. You can't change the recipe if something's good. Like you were talking about the Coke in Mexico, like Coca-Cola, guys, Coca-Cola, right? And then you bring it over here to the US, and it doesn't even taste the same, bro. Nah. And they do that with a lot of the products from our country as well too. They bring them over here, and they don't taste the same.
Yeah, dude. You know, we have to worry about that with things like honey.
Yeah.
Whatever honey you get at the grocery store, if it does not say 100% honey and made in America, be careful because it's
crazy.
It's mixed.
It's crazy, bro.
It's usually mixed.
We could definitely tap into that, bro. Well, if you guys, man, tell them a little bit. They already know that they can schedule you on your Instagram, and they could book you through there. Yeah. Your events, you have a lot of stuff that, bro. You just came from the Mexican Council. You were just there like 2-3 times already this year. You know, these people, they love you, bro, and they know the quality that you bring to the table. So everybody, man, tap into his Instagram.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Liquor. What's up with the name, though? Was that something that you thought for?
Yes.
I thought it when I learned. I was like, damn, this is that guy, because I met you before. At the council, no, but that wasn't the council, but it was the meeting that we had at the council here at I know, right here at the Coral Gables.
Yeah. And
you were serving, there was another lady there, I think she was from like California or something. She was selling like
the mezcal, the San Barrios, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Really, but I met you there, and I didn't put a lot of attention, but then when I read the name, I was like, oh, I met you before, and that name stuck to me, bro. Liquorsmith.
So, all right, so a little backstory. When you hear like a bladesmith or a blacksmith, you know that's someone that forges metal.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a bit of a play on words because in old-timey English, you know, we've had barkeeps, bartenders, you know, maitre d's, all these other things. But like back in rural Europe, like a barkeep was a liquorsmith.
Yeah.
Right? Someone that was making your liquor for you, and it was, you know, it kind of died off. A few people, like there's a band in California. They're the Liquorsmiths.
Wow.
So if you try looking me up, odds are you'll see them first. And then somebody else took the Instagram the Instagram handle. So mine has the underscore in the back. But it was so funny how we came up with that name because we were just goofing off the boys.
Yeah.
And I was talking shit. I was like, man, I had the worst customers yesterday for this, and this, and I don't normally talk shit about my customers, but these guys were just horrendous.
They could get to you, bro. That's another thing that we gotta talk about. Clients are not easy, bro. Customers are not easy.
And it's usually not their fault. They just don't understand how your business works.
Yeah.
But I was telling him, I was like, man, you know, I had this guy, and he was whistling at me, like instead of excuse me or hey or, you know, brother or something, he was and I was like, bro, I'm not a dog. Like, don't call me like that. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, well, what if somebody was calling you barkeep? And I was like, I'd respond to barkeep. And they're like, well, what about? And he's just started naming things off. And then the last one, he's like, what if someone said Liquorsmith? And I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
That sounds hard though. Wait a second, like a blacksmith, but for alcohol.
Yeah.
And it just all the ideas started rushing to my head. Like, I'm not wearing my logo.
I think it fits in, bro. I think it really fits in from all your background and kind of like how you really got started. Because at the end of it, you are making these sort of drinks for people that they're not gonna find at the local bar.
No,
you know what I'm saying? And you could put together 3 servers that are not gonna know exactly what to do compared to the menu that you bring to the table, So it's a specialty. It is a deep down specialty.
Well, no, not just that, but like when you think of someone that forges something, like when a sword, it doesn't take a couple hours. It takes days.
Oh yeah.
Like they're putting in blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of effort into what they do as a craftsman.
Yeah.
And as a bar craftsman, I was like, I really admire the idea of forging a cocktail. Right? Like, I'm not just making something, just pulling it and making it. I'm actually doing some research. If you tell me where you come from, I'm going to look into your cuisine. I'm going to look into what's seasonal that we can grow here. So if you let me know ahead of time, like, I'm making you drinks that are going to taste like home.
Wow.
Right? Like, I don't know if you've ever, like, you're a kid and your grandma makes you dessert and you go years, you don't have it. And you taste that dessert again, you're like, whoa. Yeah. And it brings you back somewhere. Yes, when people tell me that they get that feeling from my drinks, there's no greater feeling in the world saying, like, I did what I needed to do. Like, I brought you back somewhere.
I love that, bro. I think for people like us, business, but then we cater to people. That's essentially what we do. I make cakes, I cater to people. And it's that, like you said, bro, that little feeling of like creating that moment. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not really about the money. Like, this type of crafts, it's not really about the money. I mean, in the long term, it is.
Yeah, like I could carry 5 gallons of margarita and just show up to your party and be like, here, you guys can have nice margarita.
Oh, yeah.
But, having someone actually pour it up, serve it in a nice glass and say, like, hey, look, you're worth all this effort that I'm putting into this.
That's crazy to put it that way. That's a caption for your business.
You're worth this.
You're worth this.
I don't know about that. That's kind of funny.
You're worth this preparation, This is specifically catered for you.
Yeah, and that's what I want to do.
I love that, man. That's crazy. I like the name makes sense now. and from the beginning, I said it stuck out because it's different. People just kind of like put something calling, but this is great. After you explain to me the.
Have you seen my logo yet, though?
No, I only seen show it to me. I only seen the words because you have the writing on it.
Yeah, so right there is the logo. You know, like that thing in Tom and Jerry where they drop it on each other and they're like,
oh yeah.
So that's an anvil.
Yeah.
That's used in blacksmithing. Yeah. So like that's where they'll put the sword and they'll hammer it and you hear like, ding, ding. Yeah. And so like we came up with the idea of like, no, all of these cocktails are forged in passion.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know it sounds mad corny, but like, I really love what I do to the point where most of my gigs, I'm not making enough.
Yeah.
Right? Like, my bartenders are getting paid more than I am for the events.
Yeah.
And, I like that, I can provide for my bartenders, right? Like, they're getting paid more than I ever got paid to bartend.
Yeah.
And, like, that's cool to say, like, yeah, I can do that for them. Yeah. And I could up my pricing because it is a premium product, but I don't want to. I want people to enjoy it. Yeah.
And it's just a matter of time before word of mouth, somebody recommends because there's a lot of that going on, bro, which is happy for a lot of business too, not just our field, but catering. I feel like catering is being used nowadays too. A lot of people that want to cook. Yeah. Things like that, and people are willing to pay that service. Somebody come prepare the food, like the whole hibachi thing. They could go to the restaurant, but they'd rather have it at home. Yeah. Nobody needs to like rush them on the table, or whatever the case may be.
No,
but bro, take me back just a little bit. How would you, because I think it's all experience. Like I worked at a kitchen, but busting tables, and I remember that was one of my first lessons, learning how to talk to people because I had I was the busboy, so I would clean the tables.
Yeah.
And I think I had said something to the lady. I was like, "Do you want more water?" And he corrected me like on the side. He was like, "Look, when you talk to these people, you wanna know how to like talk to them. You want a manner that's inviting." He said, "May I?" Like, "May I take off your plate?" Can I? Like, that's two different type of things. So
no, of course,
it's important. So how was it for you learning, how to talk to your customer, how to talk to your client? Was it like a process?
I'm really glad you brought that up, because I was having a conversation with somebody about that earlier. Growing up Southside, it's a little hood-like.
Yeah.
So not to say code switching, but where I had gone to school, like my mom didn't want me to necessarily end up like everyone that I grew up with.
That's crazy.
So I ended up going to like a really nice elementary school. Middle school was alright, whatever. But I always got my book smarts from really nice schools, and then my street smarts from the summer camps where I had to throw hands with people regularly.
Yeah.
So, I can speak in a manner that, helps people feel a little bit more comfortable, right? Like there's ways you can, like you're saying, like you can ask, "Hey, do you mind if I pick this up from you?" But I think the easiest way is not necessarily use vocabulary that's a little bit heavier for most people, but something that's understanding, but makes you feel like I'm putting in an effort so that you feel comfortable around me.
Yeah.
So it depends on where I'm working. If I'm in a dive bar, it's like, "Yo, what's up? Hey, how you doing? Hey, can I grab you something? Can I do something for you?" Or if I'm wearing my tie, my vest, and looking like an old timey barber, it's, "Yes, sir," or "Yes, sir. Do you mind if I can take that from you?" Or today our special is actually an old fashioned smoked with a Scotch base with a beer infused syrup. And there's ways not to necessarily say that you're acting, but you are playing a role.
Yeah.
Right? You want someone to feel invited. Like when your grandma's at the house, you want her to know that you appreciate her.
Yeah.
Your grandma's gonna know that when you're talking to her, because you're gonna talk to her in a different way than you talk to your sister, because you want that out of your room.
Yeah. It's crazy you say that. I feel like it could change the environment.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially because like I don't know if of course it happens to you, where you deal with clients that they're coming from a place where maybe they were upset, or maybe they're dealing with something in the back end, and kind of like, I don't want to be here picking this up, or I don't want to be here talking to this person. But then you kind of open yourself to them, and they you can see the switch of their energy, their attitude. Like, "Oh, I'm comfortable here. This guy's not after me." You know what I'm saying? And that makes a difference in sales as well too, and make you feel comfortable. I think that's really important for business owners to know, bro.
Oh, 100%. A lot of people don't give bartenders credit. So there's a joke where like your local bartender is a local therapist. Yeah, that is kind of true.
That is kind of true. Yeah,
it is kind of true.
True.
I used to have people that would come in almost every day, and I was a young guy, and it used to be older guys, and they'd be asking me questions, and they're like, "Why do you sound like you've been through a lot?" And I was like, in this job, I get to talk to so many people. I get to learn so many different perspectives.
Yeah.
I can see why you're frustrated in your situation, and I can tell you like, "Hey, maybe this might be a better way," or like if this is how you want to deal with it. I actually happen to know somebody who's also a regular. They're going through something similar. Maybe you can talk to them. Or it's really interesting becoming a bartender. It's funny because the other day I was looking at this video, and in bartending now there's so many other mixologists that are trying to get fame and notoriety from being the best in the world, and that's not what being a bartender is. Right? Like as a bartender, your job is to serve the guests, make them feel better than when they came in.
Yeah.
That's your job.
Yeah. You just want to go in and grab a drink, but if you could have a conversation too, you don't have to
give them 10
to 15 minutes.
Yeah. Publix, bro. Get a 6-pack. Go sit on the couch.
Yeah.
You go to a bar for the atmosphere, the experience.
The experience. It's crazy what you said, bro. It is high key. It is high key. You have said something there that kind of like got my attention. How like the whole therapist thing. Like I feel like I would tell you right now, bro. I fell in love with the bakery from the moment that I saw the grandma talk to somebody, because I like the interaction, like the not knowing you to like let me see how I can like cater you and like how can we connect and like yeah that's what I want and that's what I like the most and I feel like for people like us you have to be social you have to and I think like in the back end that's like kind of like a win if you're able to connect with people it kind of like gets you closer like I did good today because I connected with this person you know.
Yeah, one of the ways we kind of measure that with other bartenders is, it's gonna sound horrible, but tips.
Yeah.
Right. So you'll have bartenders that maybe aren't the strongest behind the bar when it comes to making drinks, but they know how to make the guest feel at home.
Yeah.
So they usually get some pretty good tips.
Yeah.
But I know some bartenders that are the best at making some of the most intricate, wild drink experiences, and they just suck at talking to people.
Yeah.
And it kind of kills the whole vibe, and you're like, oh man, this is really good, but this is awkward.
Because I was because you know at that point when I was working at a restaurant, I started hanging out with people with the restaurant industry, and I was working with one of my friends, and it's Rachel. She's a server since she was like 15, 17.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know, you want to know who gets the most tips in the restaurant? It's always like the gay guy.
Bro, wait. Let me tell you.
I don't know
tell
that
you the science behind this, because there's science behind that.
Bro, is that true? I agree, bro. I agree because I also worked at that restaurant, and there was this guy named Anthony. They just called him Tony. I was like, this guy, he just knew how to talk to people. He just knew because you know if it was the gentleman paying the bill, he knew he had to like win over the wife. And if you went over the wife, you know you're getting a good tip, you know?
Of course. So it's funny you say that because like it used to be like, oh, this is a woman's tactic, right? It's the flirting, the this.
Yeah.
But like gay guys are so good at that.
Oh yeah.
Like whenever I have a server or a bartender and they're just extra flamboyant, like your guard immediately gets dropped.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't view them as like a physical threat.
That's crazy. Said that.
And they sound inviting, right? Because they're not harsh, they're not mean, their demeanor, they're playful.
Yeah.
And, you know, deep down, we all want to be playful.
Yeah.
So when you're talking to them, you're opening up a little bit more, they're opening up, and now you feel like you've just made a best friend.
Yeah.
And it's harder for, you know, not to say regular men, but like, especially here in Miami, like we focus more so on masculinity.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's our culture.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, oh, you know, I got to keep my guard up. I'm a tough guy and all this. You guys don't give a fuck about none of that, dude. They're themselves.
Yeah. Especially if we work in sales. You can't even do that. Especially if we work in sales.
100%.
That's crazy you said that. It is true.
It drops your guard. And like, women are also really good at that.
Yeah.
And so that's why, you know, women and gay guys always make the best tips.
Yeah.
Like, most of my bartenders are women and gay guys. Because I was like, yeah, look, I'm going to pay you this much. But you're gonna make this much in tips for the event. Yeah. Because they always, bro.
Yeah. No, it's true, bro. They have a high level of hospitality, and I think that's high key, man. Especially in the industry that you're in. That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Well, man, what will be, you know, to close in? What will be some of the routes that you would give somebody that kind of wants to go your path? Or kind of like, man, that sounds interested. You know, somebody that's like 15 to like 18, between that age. That sounds interested. I want to start making drinks at home. Or like, I want to see if I get that. Like, is there like something that you're like, man, I should have done it this way. This is how I recommend somebody. Yeah, so that's a, right? Every other career path in the world, you could, when you're young, you're like, I want to be an astronaut. Yeah. Like when you're a kid, no little kid's like, I want to be a bartender. Yeah. Right? Unless your parents are bartenders or artists of some sort that, you know, kind of see the value in the art of it. It's one of those careers that, you know, in the beginning, you're definitely going to struggle 100%. No matter who you are, whether you're a mixologist or you're a dive bar bartender or you just, you know, want to serve people. In the beginning, it is going to be tough. You know, like anything else in the world, you're going to have to learn some stuff. Yeah. Now, depending on how much you learn is the level in which you're going to grow. But it is hard because, I mean, nowadays it's not as hard, but, you know, in the past 20 years, mixology's had a resurgence where now people are seeing it as sophisticated as most chefs would. Yeah. And now you're seeing a lot of bartenders around the world that you're like, oh,
I've seen you in magazines and on TV the same way you'd be like, oh, is that Gordon Ramsay? It's like, no, that's Dale DeGroff making cocktails back there. And you're like, and it's a cool thing, but as a kid, you're probably not going to get into it. Like maybe when you're 16, your friends are drinking and
or somebody maybe a little bit older, that kind of wants to go on that path. Like, would you strategically would you say that job at Total Wine helped you out? Like,
so working at Total Wine definitely did help. Now, surrounding yourself with the proper tools is always your best case scenario. But you just said something that was interesting when you said older people.
Yeah.
There's a mixologist out of Houston, Texas, Ed Warner. That is my guy. He's 73.
Wow.
He started bartending.
Oh, wow.
In his 40s. And now he does the same thing that I do. Compete around the world. We train other bartenders. And that's something he started late. But when you figure out that you really love something and you're dedicated, that's all it is dedication and passion.
Yeah.
It's how much effort you are willing to put into it. Whether you want to build a car, whether you want to fly a plane, if you want to become a lawyer or a doctor, it's how much effort you put in.
Yeah.
How many bartenders do you know that they're there for the check? It's
crazy too. Working in the industry, I realized that people are just trying to clock in and clock out, bro.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be a very few, like for example, the gay guy that will take his time to actually learn how to talk to people and cater and things like that. And those people, they end up doing good because people value those things, bro. They value how you treat them, how you talk to them. There's a saying that they say that people do business with the people they like, but I could say something like, we go to our restaurant because we like to get treated by that person because he knows what I like, or she knows how to talk to me, or like whatever the case may be.
I think there's an app for that. It's I think it's called Regulars.
So
yeah. It's for bartenders and servers. So like, let's say you have a favorite bartender that you're like, oh man, I love it when they're there. I think you can. Depends on what establishments are on it.
Yeah.
But like a bartender can put their schedule and say like, hey, I'm going to be here these days. So if you like the way that I serve you, you can come in. But it's not just for bartenders. I think it's like for regular servers too. I don't remember what the app is called. I remember there was like a pilot or something that they were trying to, get it started. And I thought it was the coolest thing. I was like, oh man.
Damn, bro. How things are changing, right, bro? You haven't, you're the only kid, right?
No, I have a little sister.
How old?
25.
Okay,
24?
Okay.
No, she's 24.
Okay. I thought you were gonna say that she was like in high school or something like that because technology is changing, bro. Everybody's like exposed to like all this type of things and things like that. Like, what was your just throw me back a little bit to close on this. How was your experience with 2020, bro? How was your experience with that whole chaos going on? I know you were highly affected by that because of the jobs and things like that.
Yeah, I had multiple jobs, and I was like, "What do I do?" I was mudding a lot in my team. There wasn't much else to do.
There was a lot of time for that.
Yeah, there was a lot of time. I was like, I finally have time to do shit. So, we goofed around a lot, and I was applying to places, regular jobs, and they're like, "No, you don't have a degree, or if you do." Or not even like one of the first places I was like, oh, I love animals. Like, let me just go apply to Petco. They're like, oh yeah, you need at least an AA to make minimum wage. I was like, get out of here.
At Petco?
At Petco.
Wow.
Right? And I was like, I'm not doing that. So then I was just applying everywhere, like to anything, construction, landscaping, bar server, like whatever would hire me. And it never worked out for me. And then I found Total Wine. And I appreciate, everything I learned at Total Wine and the team that's still there. They're really great people. It's just, I was not meant for corporate America.
It's crazy that you said that, because now that you said that, you made me think back to something as you were talking about how working at a restaurant with multiple people, you have 10, 8 people working in that shifts. It's kind of like playing chess, bro. It really is. It's kind of like, oh no, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. Somebody else is supposed to be doing this. I'm in charge of this today. And it's like, damn, but that person has to come. Yes, somebody else has to do it So it's like a lot of friction in there, right? It's a lot of like you said, like throwing shade and kind of like throwing people in the bus.
At the end of the day, most of it is love. I mean, I don't know if there's a show, The Bear. I still haven't seen it, but I've seen clips, and I'm like, golly, I'm getting PTSD from work. You know, like the chef loves you, right? If you're still working for them, they like you.
Yeah.
So if they're yelling and throwing shit at you, it's because they really like you.
Yeah.
They want you to do better.
It's crazy because it is like that, bro. It is like...
It's like that coach when you were a kid that's like, get your ass up. We're going to keep going. And you're like, why are you doing me like this? It's like, no, you're going to be the best.
Working at a restaurant, you think you fell in love with that adrenaline or those like...
Oh, psychopaths?
Yeah,
yes.
Oh, I like this. Because I remember I worked in, before I worked at the restaurant, I worked construction. So construction is like you clock in at 7, you get out at 3, and it's consistent work. But you go in at the restaurant, by the time you clock in, it's 4. From 4 to 5, there's nothing going on. But after 6, from 6 to like 9, 10, 11, 12, that's where like, and then you have those 2 hours from like, I could say 8 toward like 10, where it
definitely prepares you for hectic situation. Like the other night, I did when I tell you last minute event, they called me 11:30 the night before saying, hey, we want these, and these. We've had them at other parties. And I was like, yeah, I could do it. So we get there to the venue, and I'm setting up, and it's already late. It's pouring, and they're, this lady's running over the chicken with her head cut off. And she's like, how are you so calm? I was like, just Tuesday.
Yeah.
She said, what do you mean? I was like, don't worry. We have 20 minutes. I got 30 minutes worth of work. If I break it down like this, I can have him do this and this. We'll be done in 10 minutes. It'll give us 5 minutes to make things pretty and then help you out with whatever. And she's like, how are you so calm? I was like, we deal with this every day.
Yeah.
Right? Like most of the time, I don't sleep. Even now that I'm not at a regular job with a regular schedule, I'm still not going to bed till 4 o'clock in the morning. Like I still have the bartender schedule.
That's crazy. Because it is like that. You work until 12, 1, but you don't get home until 2. And then you get home at 2, you might watch a movie, and then you go to sleep, and then you're sleeping in the afternoon until like 2 p.m., which how my schedule was at the restaurant, because you work late. Yeah. And then the next day, you're like, oh, let me sleep in a little bit because I got to clock in at 4. That's crazy, bro. I could say that I did learn a lot in terms of not panicking.
Yeah. No, definitely
not panicking.
Gives you
like a cool head and things like that. Bro, I'm not going to take a lot of your time, bro. Just tell these people where they can find you.
Yeah, so Liquorsmith on everything. Everything.
You got X, you got...
Yeah, no, I had to delete X, bro. That's, oh my goodness. I followed puppies, art, science. All I'm getting is bathroom, high school fights, shootings, and porn. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, bro. You don't... Guys, I love my X. But don't log into X after like 9 p.m. man.
Yeah,
it's not a good time.
It's a warning. Don't do it.
It's too many conspiracy theories out there, which I love. But I'll stay up too late after 9, man.
The Titanic was fake. There was another one.
But man, you guys know where to find my brother, man. Bro, you definitely coming back, bro. Because we didn't even talk about what we were talking about like 10 minutes before we started.
Yeah, no,
I didn't even get a chance to do like a proper introduction, man. But it's a pleasure, though. I appreciate it. I hope people could kind of take in a little bit about your skills, your business as well. That was the idea. But before we even close, because this is really important, we were supposed to talk about Taco Fest.
Oh, bro. My God. Yes, Taco Fest. So if you're in the South Florida area, we did a Taco Fest back in, I think it was March. April. And, we put a lot of effort into it. And we were really hoping to get, 1,500 people to show up. 4,500 people showed up, and every vendor sold out. There was 40 different taco trucks, 4 other random food vendors, and then 6 beverage carts. Everyone did so fantastic that the city even asked, like, hey, can you do that again? Like that, that really helped us here in Homestead. And we're like, we'd love to. We do it once a year. And they're like, no. Can you do it twice a year?
Wow.
So... we're so glad that all of you guys came to show up for, all of your locals.
Yeah.
All of your primos that have the trucks that, they saved up for so long to get their dreams going.
Yeah.
You guys really made their days. You made our days. I'm going to be running the bar. So if you guys want to try, I can't say that they're going to be super heavy mixology because this one's going to be more so a volume, quantity over quality type of deal. But the drinks are going to be good.
Maybe you could do like a 3 menu piece items, something like that, something quick.
Yeah,
because crazy because another volume is crazy.
Yeah, last time we were like, we're gonna do some. No,
which was amazing. So guys, we're running it back, man. This time is gonna be November 2nd, November 3rd. That's Saturday and Sunday. It's a 2-day event. It's a free entry. 40 trucks. There's gonna be a lot of sweets, a lot of activities for the kids too, bro. What I like the most, I think it was the culture, bro, and the community. Like I saw a lot of my people from my friends in high school that showed up there.
Dude, I ran into one of my boys. We would go hiking for like weeks at a time together. I haven't talked to him in years. He showed up. I thought he was in Germany still. I was like, yo, what are you doing? You know, it was so cool because it was people from the Keys and people from up north, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's the other thing too. I had somebody like Fabio was telling me, a lot of people. You were telling me as well that from Orlando.
Yeah.
And that's crazy, bro. That's a 4-hour drive. Coming all the way over here, and now it's a 2-day event, man. If you're up north, man, take the drive. Come over here, stay the weekend if you have to.
Oh my God!
You know, let us know where you're coming from. I could invite you a drink after hours, you know. But bro, what is the biggest takeaway that you would do for Taco Fest?
Man. So the first one, we learned a lot. When I tell you we learned a lot, we learned a lot. So we know to streamline things a little bit more. Just communicate better with some of our, because we had some difficulties with like the domino competition last year. We wanted to help them out, sell their stuff, and I don't know what happened, but it ended up getting canceled last week. Just communication errors. So we want to make sure that taco eating contest. If you are going to do it this year, we are going to bring barf bags. Sorry for those two things. The domino competition, we're going to host that a little bit better. Tacos all day long of every varietal, from even locales, man. If you like barbacoa Oaxacan style, there's some Oaxacan style, there's some Michoacan. Like, we have everything. Everything. So if there's one vendor that you're like, oh, this is good, but maybe nothing. There's another.
Bro. And the lines were massive as well too, bro. The lines were massive. I saw a lot of kids too, which was cool. A lot of kids, we had we have a whole section, man, a whole little section for the kids to play, to bounce around. There's like a whole playground for the kids. So I think that was cool, bro, because like the parents could, you
guys can relax, go have a
drink, let them do their thing, and a lot of security as well, man.
We wanted to make sure that everyone was safe. That was a big one. We wanted people to stay hydrated. We were passing out water for a while. With these sort of events, like your safety is our number one concern. Yeah. So like we're as the people giving out drinks, we want to make sure that you guys are safe. You can hang out with everyone, but responsibly. Security was on top of it. I don't think we had any real issues. Security was always
bro. We were good. Tell me a couple of things about Fabio, bro, because I think he really locks in, bro. He really gets it done for the community. Fabio, guys, is the organizer, the man, the superstar, I would say, bro, because he really gets it going, bro. Yeah. He really gets it going. I get to know him a little bit and his family, bro, and I could tell when somebody is strategically business, but he does it because he cares, bro.
Yeah, so this isn't something that he didn't make enough money off the last one by any means. This was more so like when he got into this, he would always decorate the house for Halloween, Christmas, and that's when he started doing the haunted houses. They started getting big. So then he partnered up with a few people to actually make a big haunted house. And then they're like, well, why don't we do like holiday festivals? So then they started doing the Halloween festival, and they're like, well, why don't we do Christmas too? Yeah. And they're like, well, we have the Christmas festival going, some adults want some drinks. Let's try and get our alcohol license. And it just kept growing and growing and growing. And, where we were up north, it was doing good. But, they got a lot of nice stuff up there. We don't have anything nice down here in Homestead.
That was the first Taco Fest at Homestead, man. And it was incredible. We were like, we sold out, like you said. But
No,
multiple. I have multiple people that went home to buy more stuff, whatever. Came back and sold again.
Yep.
Sold out again. So then I'm expecting a lot more people. It's a 2-day event, and it's gonna be incredible. If you guys see us there, man, do let us know that you guys came through from the podcast. Man, it's a pleasure to have you, bro. We're gonna be over here shopping it up. You guys know where to tap in. Follow the Instagram, man. I hope you guys have a great day. Blessings, all right?